name's Brendan O'Sullivan, a Toastmaster from Brisbane, Australia. Welcome to my Toastmasters World Tour Podcast. Please join me as I travel virtually around the world and chat to Toastmasters from different countries and all walks of life. Let's explore! For this episode of Toastmasters World Tour, we travel virtually to Edmonton, Canada to chat to Harriet Tinka. She was a competitor on the world stage in the 2024 Toastmasters World Championship of Public Speaking with a moving speech and a powerful message. Let's take a look at her Toastmasters journey, learn and be inspired. Sawubona, Harriet. Welcome to the show. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, Sawubona to you too. Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to share a bit about myself. So my name is Harriet Tinka, and I'm a chartered professional accountant, but I wear many hats. I'm a keynote speaker here in Canada, and I work a lot with the young people, helping them to overcome any obstacles that they're going through. I also work with companies in helping them with what I call the visibility strategy, which is helping people work with their company to be able to be seen and become more productive. And many other things. I'm also an ultramarathon runner, and I enjoy life.
Oh my goodness, I don't know where you find the time. That's amazing. How does that go when you do that Sawubona work with your companies?
So Sawubona, what I do is companies will call me and they would say, we are having low retention, low productivity, that sort of thing. So what I'll do, I'll ask them the key question, what their problems are, and then I'll come in and I'll do a keynote on what I call Sawubona, which is we see you. So it's helping the leaders see the people who feel unseen, like that new employee. Maybe somebody who's been working forever for the company doesn't feel that they're adding value. So I help them to see with strategies that they can use to help the company and to also help the people who feel unseen feel seen so they can be even more productive for the company.
Yeah, that's why I greeted you with Sawubona at the start of the podcast, because it's that very special word. And I first heard it when I was fortunate enough to see you on the world stage to Anaheim in the World Championships of Public Speaking in 2024. Like the rest of the audience, I was captivated and blown away by it. So first of all, congratulations on such a powerful, impactful and memorable speech. Can you tell us a bit more about what the word it means and what it means to you?
Oh, absolutely. Now, for your listeners that are listening that may not be familiar with the word, so Sawubona is a Zulu greeting. So if I met you, I would say Sawubona, just like what you mentioned when we started the podcast. That what the translation is, I see you, and by seeing you, I bring you into being. It's an invitation to start that conversation. And your response would be, Yebo Sawubona. Yes, I see you too.
And there's another one, sequentially. What's that mean?
Yes, so there's two ways you can say Yebo Sawubona, or you can say Sikona, I am here. So there's two ways that you can do the greeting. You can say Sawubona, Yebo Sawubona, or Sawubona Sikona, which means I see you too, or I am here.
I believe as a teenager, you had quite a powerful experience using that word. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So when growing up in Kenya, I don't know if you played hide and seek when you're young.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Great fun.
Right. So growing up, my family, I have 7 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And my father always wanted us to play the game Sawubona, which is I see you. So it's similar to hide and seek. So I would go, I'd run around, I would hide. And my father, who is almost 7 foot tall, would hide and we'll always find him because he's too tall. It was difficult for him to hide. But whenever I heard my father say, Sawubona, I knew that he had found me. And having 7 siblings, it was so easy for us to feel unseen. but my father always made us feel seen. So that word became basically our culture, our word. So whenever we were feeling sad or lonely, my father would say, "Hey, Sawubona, I see you." And it really kind of changes the whatever mood you're going through at that point, because somebody sees you, somebody understands you, somebody's there to uplift you when you're feeling down.
Love that. That's beautiful. And you used that word as a teenager, and there's a pretty special story behind that.
Yes, that was a story that I used for my world champion for public speaking. So when we used the word Sawubona back in Kenya, we moved to Canada. And I thought maybe the Canadians use the same word, but they use something different. And when I was going to school, I noticed, because my father had taught us to always notice everybody and always treat everybody like they are human beings. They're not better than you. We're all the same. So
Mhm.
when I was in school, I noticed a young man, same age as me, sitting in the cafeteria every day by himself, eating lunch by himself. So I told my father, his name was Lonnie, the boy in my school. He always sits alone, eats alone. Everybody ignores him. He always has his hair covered in his face. And I told my father, I don't know how he feels. He's always alone. So my father said, you know what? Why don't you just go say Sawubona to him?
Mm.
And I was like, "Say that to a boy?" I was like quite
Relatable.
yeah, I was quite nervous. So I did. One day I kind of tiptoed and I saw him. He was still busy looking down. He didn't have a cell phone or anything. He was just looking down aimlessly. And I went up to him and I said, "Lonnie, Sawubona." And he looked at me and he said, "What?" I said, that's hello in Zulu." So he shook his head and he looked away. I was so embarrassed when he said that. So when he said that, I went to my dad and I told him I said that to him and I was so embarrassed. I'll never talk to him again. And my dad said, "Harriet, just keep trying, keep trying. Sometimes you have to keep trying even more than you want to." So I did. I would say Sawubona. He never said anything to me for weeks and weeks. And this is also part of my speech. So for weeks and weeks, he would not say hi. And I found out more about him from other students, that he was, his mom and him just moved from school to school. So,
Mm,
and he was always shy to make friends. He felt like he didn't belong anywhere.
yeah,
But even at school, people sometimes ignore him or laugh at him and all that. But I
yeah.
tried so much to support him and just try to make him feel seen, but he didn't want my attention. But one day I caught him looking towards me when I was standing by my locker.
Ah,
I
okay.
said, "Oh, he noticed me. Maybe that's his version of Sawubona." And then at the end of the school year, actually, I heard that he was leaving again. And I
Uh-huh.
told my dad, he said, "Well, maybe, maybe his family has to move on, but it's a good thing you kept saying Sawubona to him." And I
Yeah,
did. It was almost like 2 or 3 months I kept saying and nothing.
yeah.
But then one of the biggest thing, I still have the letter. He gave me a letter that
Uh-huh.
basically was so heartfelt. Like if I remember, I don't have it here, but I've kept it over the years. It was a letter saying, "Thank you for noticing me. I
Yeah,
always felt so alone, but whenever I saw you and you
yeah,
said Sawubona to me, I felt like I belong." And he said there was many times he wanted to take his own life, but
uh,
knowing
yeah,
that he would
yeah,
see me the next day just
yeah,
gave him so much joy. And he
yeah,
said, "Thank you."
yeah. I mean,
It
you
was
don't know what
such a
people are going.
heartfelt.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't know what people are going through, do you? And you don't realize the impact of something as simple as just saying "Sawubona" or "Hi."
Mm.
Was Lonnie, Kenyan or African in background? Would he have known the word?
No. Yeah, he was Canadian, actually. He had
Yeah,
blonde hair, blue eyes, and
yeah,
he looked so like he needed somebody to be there with him, but
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
really paid attention to him.
What a
And
beautiful thing to
that's
do.
because I
Yeah,
was surprised. I'd never seen that. I just was surprised to see somebody sits alone by himself. And I noticed that there's a lot of people going through so much. You just don't know
mm,
their story. And just
exactly.
saying hi to them, noticing them, just
Yes.
can make a whole world of a difference to
Uh,
them.
100%. Yeah. Well done to you. That's
Mm.
powerful stuff and a great lesson to us all, I think. All right. Well, let's go back a little bit because I'd be interested to know when you joined Toastmasters and what was your first club?
Oh, I joined Toastmasters in 2016. And
Uh-huh.
the reason I joined, I wasn't really going to join. I was just walking in the hallways, and a friend of mine was in a rush. And she said, "Oh," I asked, "Where are you going?" He said, "Oh, I'm going to Toastmasters." And I
Mhm.
said, "What is that?" She said, "Oh, it's public speaking." And I asked, "Is there food?" Because food motivates me. Said, "Oh yeah, there'll be some food there." So I went. Unfortunately, they only had crackers. I said, "There's no food here." But when I sat down and I listened to the speaker, it was very parliamentary. I've
Okay.
never anything like that. Like,
Uh-huh.
"Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, Madam Toastmaster." And it was all everything started at 12 and it ended at exactly 1 o'clock. And
Uh-huh.
there was some evaluation. In fact, they asked me to be a table topic speaker and I didn't know what to say. But in
Uh-huh.
the end, they voted for me and I won.
Oh,
I
that's
was so
exciting.
excited. So that was my journey to go back again. And I went back and I actually began to enjoy it. And it was probably 4 sessions later that I decided to join Toastmasters.
Was that in Edmonton?
It was here in Edmonton, yeah, Edmonton, Canada. Yeah.
Okay, and can I ask the name of the club?
It was The Way We Speak.
That's cool. I like that name. That's a nice
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, it was a
And
beautiful, beautiful name there. I don't know how they came up with it, but it aligned with what we were doing.
you decided to join. What did you expect to get out of it?
Initially, of course, I was going for the food,
Yeah,
but after
the
after
crackers weren't much
after
of a
I
draw
went a
card.
couple of times, I thought to myself, I noticed how people were speaking so confidently, and I
Yeah.
thought to myself, "Wow, I wanna be that way," because there's one particular she's my mentor. She spoke so well, and she was elegant, and she'd just stand up and make a speech without even looking at her notes, and I
Uh-huh.
thought, "Wow, I would love to be able to do that."
Yeah, yeah.
So I went online and I started studying different Toastmasters because it
Uh-huh.
really created a bug in me. I said, "I wanna
Uh-huh.
be just like them." So
Yeah.
I started, looking at what other Toastmasters were doing, and I
Uh-huh.
started even participating in competitions.
Ah,
Yeah, I said,
awesome.
"Wow, if you're gonna be a better speaker, you need to start competing." So I started to
Agreed,
as
yeah.
soon as I got my qualifications, I think you needed, like, 2 pathway at the time, they were called communication and leadership sessions. You
Uh-huh.
needed just a few of them. I can't remember what
Couple of
exactly they were.
levels.
Yeah, yeah, and I was able to qualify, and I competed. My very first speech, I won in club level. Well, there was really
Oh,
not too many
sweet.
people, and then I went up to area level, and I lost.
You did well with it,
But it was
starting
okay.
out. That's awesome. I mean, it's very
And
empowering, isn't it? Obviously, the empowerment and the impact that you could see public speaking had is what drew you in rather than a specific motivation for work necessarily, by the sounds of things.
absolutely, yeah.
But that's awesome. So you got right into it. How many clubs have you been a member of, Harriet?
This year, I'm only a member of 2 clubs, but over the years, I've 4 clubs, and
Okay.
they're all so different. So I had one club in Nigeria called
Uh-huh.
Lantern Club, and then there's, one in the US, Contest Mastery, and then 2 of them in Canada, which is The Way We Speak and Brownlee's Best. So 4 in total, and because this year I'm working on my PhD, I said, "Okay, I gotta kind of trim down on the club because I'm paying all these membership fees, but I'm not able to attend,
Yeah.
and I still need to develop my public speaking, so I still go in as a guest for the other clubs anyway, but
Uh-huh.
not as often. But I'm always with my home club every Tuesday.
So you've been on the world stage, but you still feel like you need to develop your public speaking.
Oh, yes, yes. There's always room for improvement no matter how good you are, and I'm
Mm.
always excited to compete.
I love
It's
that
me and
spirit.
just makes you a better speaker.
Yeah, sure. I love that spirit. Do you think you're going to try and get on the world stage again? Are you gonna compete again?
I'm always compete I just competed in the fall with my other club and I won, because you only went to division because it didn't go up to district. We only decided to do it up to division just to help us become better speakers. It was for
Okay.
an international speech, but online speech. So I did win that,
Uh, uh,
and I also won a humorous speech last year. So I'm not really funny. I'm not funny
what
to them.
I don't know that I believe that. What was your humorous speech on?
It was actually my humorous speech was making fun of Toastmaster.
Now I'm even more interested.
It
It's
was
probably
so
not. It's probably not recorded anywhere, is it?
They might have recorded it online, but yeah, it was really funny. I was making fun of Toastmaster. It was so hilarious. Even when I look back at what I did, I'm like, I am so good, but I'm not funny.
And the audience enjoyed it?
They did because they could relate to it.
Well, I wish I'd seen that. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
It was good the way I did it because the way I presented it is I went in, I talked about the first time I was a Toastmaster and I
Mhm.
won. I was the best table topic speaker. I was like,
Uh-huh.
wow, I'm just that good. And the next time I came in, I won best table topic speaker, best evaluator, and most exemplary speaker. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just that good.
Yeah.
That was for my ego. So
Yeah.
what I decided to do, I was gonna open up my own club called Boastmasters. I compare Boastmaster and Toastmaster back
Yeah,
and
yeah,
forth.
yeah.
It was just funny.
Love it.
Where the egos are made, you know, where the leaders are made in Toastmasters?
Yes.
In Toastmasters is where the egos are made.
Yeah,
Funny?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just
that's so
funny. You have
funny.
to kinda see it.
Yeah.
If you compare the 2, you're like, "Oh my gosh," 'cause the one of the other things I'll end here, but so how Toastmaster has pathways, and it's such a slow process, but
Mm.
in Boastmasters, we have expressways.
Yeah, I love it. I know what you're talking about. You got the humor. That's great. I would
There's so
thoroughly
many other
enjoy
little
that.
things that I added.
So
It
getting
was
back to the
funny,
fact
yeah.
that you've been a Toastmaster in both, North America and in Nigeria, was that in Lagos?
Yeah, Lagos, West Africa.
I mean, obviously each country has its own native language and culture, although I believe in Nigeria the national language is English, but they've got
Yeah.
500 other languages. But I'm wondering
Mhm.
what impact language and culture locally has on the Toastmasters experience. Being from member clubs in different countries, have you noticed any differences?
I have, because I also go to different clubs in Asia as well, in Korea and Osaka, and they're
Ah,
all so different. Yeah, the content is the same, you know, having the
mhm, mhm,
Toastmaster, you know, the flow is the same,
sure.
Toastmaster of the year, but they all do it really differently. What I found interesting about in Nigeria, they're very, it's very, almost very formal. And they like
Right.
to use quotes. Like they'll
Mhm,
use like XYZ said this in a quote, and the whole entire speech is on that. Maybe like I can think of a leader, let's say what's his name? Like George Maxwell. Is it Maxwell? I can't remember his first name, but he's in leadership. So say like XYZ said, leadership is about influence, and everybody is focused on that as a theme. So they all talk
mhm,
about that as a theme.
I
And
see.
it's so interesting the way they do it. And in my other club, for example, here in Canada, we'll have it's more fun. Like we'll have chocolate theme and everybody
Mm,
comes in with a chocolate, or you have a day where it's maybe it's Halloween and we all
yeah.
come in with costumes on and that sort of thing. So they're all so different. Some are very formal, some laid back, some just follow the rules, they don't break the rules. It's almost there's no laughing. We must follow the rules and not have too much fun. So it's always
Ah.
funny to go, but at the end of the day, they're all working on their public speaking skills their own way. So I always enjoy going to different clubs. And by doing that, I think I've picked up a lot of little things from each club that's made me even a better speaker and a better evaluator.
Yeah, have you got any examples of that?
Um, like as an evaluator, I'll see based on the way the club is and the way they speak, I can give feedback to that particular speaker based on what I know. Maybe I learned something from another club. Maybe I
Uh-huh.
should use a certain way of staging because in this particular area they don't talk a lot about staging. So I'll pick up what I use in another club that I notice in this club they don't use, and I'll learn from them and they'll learn from me. So it's just using little things you learn from here to there,
Sure.
or even dialogue. A lot of evaluator don't talk about dialogue. Like when I'm saying some things like she said this and then he said this and then she said this. So I encourage them use dialogue instead of saying he said. Just say, just be it, become that.
I like that.
Like you say something like I want you to take me home. I don't want to go home. So instead of saying she said she wanted to be taken home, and then I said I don't want to go home. So in that way, I help the speaker. You just get into that scene instead of
Mm.
telling me about it. So
Yes,
it
you're more
becomes
immersed in it.
more, yeah,
I love that. Yeah, I think
little
that
things like
works.
that.
You noticed some differences in Nigeria, but you've also visited some Asian clubs. Did you notice any differences there?
They're very, with them, I think the grammarian part of it, it seems to be
Uh,
very important. Like they
uh,
spend more time in the grammarian evaluation versus um like we just do grammarian said, oh, you spoke well here, you spoke here, this was good. But they'll say, okay, your sentence here, you said X, Y, Z. You should try and do it this, this, this. So it's almost like they really want their grammar to be really well spoken because if you go in the international stage, grammar is very important. And if it's your second language, it's always difficult. So a lot of those other clubs that I've been to, like the one I was in Osaka once, and I was one in Korea, and they're very, very much on the grammar side of the Toastmaster.
That's interesting, but it doesn't surprise me at all. That rings true that because, as you said, it's their second language, and I know that they're very keen to get it right. It sort of
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas your Canadian club sound a lot more similar to my home club here. For example, yeah, I mean, we have themes to each meeting, and our next meeting's theme is yet to be decided. But with Valentine's only a week away, it's usually Valentine's Day. Has that ever
Yeah.
been a theme at any of your club meetings?
Yeah. Yeah. I think what we try to, whatever's happening out there, it could be chocolate day, it could be national day of something. So whoever the Toastmaster of the day will decide. Like we can even set it to be Valentine's Day and somebody will say, no, I don't want Valentine's Day to be the theme. So the Toastmaster will decide, but it
Yeah,
makes
fair
sense
enough.
to go with what's happening in the world. So it's easier and we all can talk about it and be better speakers that way.
Yeah. Could you tell us a bit about your journey from club contest to the World Championship public speaking stage?
Absolutely. So I've been on the world stage twice. Now, the way I set it off, my preparation, as you know, it sets from area. It's a 7 series, I guess. It's you set at the club level. So I was
Mhm.
at the club, then area, then division, then district, and then after district, you'd be competing with your region. So I was in region 4. So in region 4, I believe we had like 6 or 7 district, or maybe even 10. I can't remember on top of my head, but there were several district. So what they would do, the judges would all sit one particular day and they'll listen to all the speeches and then they'll pick the top 2. And then
Mhm.
for those top 2, we go to the semifinals and then we compete. All of us, there's different semifinals. Usually there's 4 semifinals. So 7 people in each, 28 speakers in total. And out of those 4 semifinals, only the top 2 advance to become a finalist for the world champion for public speaking.
Yeah.
So for me, I've made it twice to the semifinals.
Okay.
I made it in 2022 in Nashville
Oh, okay.
and then in 2024 in Anaheim.
Okay. And did you have any help along the way?
Oh, yeah. So when I start doing my speech, you said with the one speech, usually I do anyway, and I use the same speech all throughout.
Uh-huh.
And I was set, like for this year, I started my speech last year and I tested out
Uh-huh.
because it's going to be an international speech. You want to make sure the words that you're using are very international.
Uh-huh.
Because when I did my speech in 2022, it was about the 3 bags. Like in Canada, you can say the 3 bags of manure, which is like,
Uh-huh.
but when I went to other countries, I could not use the word manure. It means
Uh-huh.
something totally different. So you have to make sure the words that you're using are international and they're not offensive and they mean the same thing all over the world. So I would test my speech in Canada. I went to the US. I went to Africa. I went all over the world. So I would take my
Online.
speech everywhere. Yeah. So I would say I spent, I must have probably 400 times I've practiced that speech over and over by the time we get to the world stage. And yes, I did get coaching. I
Uh-huh.
didn't get coaching when I was at district. Once you win your district and you make
Uh-huh.
semifinals, a lot of the coaches will connect with you.
Ah,
Like
okay.
I did connect with Variety Price was one of my coaches. Darren Lacroix, Mark Brown, and Tate, and all they've been world champions, and
Okay.
they're really, really good. You don't need all four of them. You really need just one main coach
Okay.
because they're all gonna give you different feedback. And
Uh-huh.
you're gonna be so overwhelmed. So you need
Yes.
one main coach. You can still go to the others, and whatever
Uh-huh.
feedback you get from the others, you bring back to your main coach so that it's flowing and it's consistent and you're not
Uh-huh.
overwhelmed. And I
Yeah.
found if I was to do it again, I would just get one coach and
Uh-huh.
just focus with them and just work with them over and over because sometimes it's too much coaching.
Yeah, makes sense. Reminds me of the saying, too many cooks spoil the broth.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Too many cooks. Yeah.
Was it helpful, did you find, with the coaching?
It was very, very helpful. I really enjoyed it. I learned how to write a speech, how to make an impact, and how to you can write a really good speech with just it doesn't even have to be difficult. It's about the message. Like you
Mm,
can even present a speech on how your grandmother taught you how to cook an egg or boil an
mm.
egg. And it's about the message and the impact.
And the delivery, isn't it?
And delivery, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Like the
People
hero's journey. Like you have to have a guru. You don't want to be the guru in your speech. You just want to be the hero. There's just a lot of things that I have learned over the years to just how to write a speech that's going to make an impact in the world.
And did you find that so you started out with the Sawubona speech in club level and took it all the way to the world stage? Did you? And you probably, I imagine, it was being tweaked a bit along the way each time you practiced it and got feedback. Did it? Did the original speech and the end speech were they still basically the same, or had they changed a lot?
Actually, Sawubona was not supposed to be. It was not the speech I set it up. That was supposed. I had two because you have to have two speeches for
Yes.
the world champion.
Yes.
Sawubona, I had Sawubona and I had the gift. The gift was
Okay.
the speech that got me to district and it got me to the world champion. But on the day on when I get into the semifinals, I had to decide between which of the two speeches is strong enough to get
Uh-huh.
me to the finals. So
Yes.
what I would recommend anybody, this is just my opinion, of course, having gone through it, the one that got me to semifinals is the speech that I should have used
Huh. Right.
because that was such a strong speech. I'd spent so much time and it got so a lot of feedback. So Bona is more of a world champion, but
Uh-huh.
the my speech that I worked with was strong enough to get me to the world champion, if that
I
makes
see.
sense.
Yeah. What was the gift about? I haven't seen that one.
It was about share your story. And that's the one I'll probably be using. But once you've had a speech go into the world champion, you can never use it again. So I can never use Sawubona ever again on the
Okay.
world's. It's done.
And so the gift is about share your story.
It's about my personal story, what I went through, and because I went through and I overcame those challenges, I'm encouraging other people, whatever your story is, share your story, whether it's about challenges you've gone through. Don't keep it inside.
I
Because
see.
my message was I'm trying to remember the foundational phrase. It was you share your story. It's a gift. I'm trying to remember the foundational phrase on top of my head, but it was when you hide what you're going through, you keep it silent, it gets worse. And it doesn't, it just affects you mentally. It
Uh-huh.
affects everything that you're going through. So
Uh-huh.
basically, my story was about how I was kidnapped, stabbed, and left
Oh,
for dead.
goodness.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, I try not to let people focus on that. It's not about the whole thing. It's about what I had to go through.
Uh-huh.
And because that happened to me, now I'm out there helping women or men who have been impacted by domestic violence. Yeah. So it's
Wow.
basically, it's to help other people know that your story is valid and you can probably help other people who are going through the same thing by sharing your story. What I remember now is healing is hindered by silence. Share your story. So that was kind of my foundational phrase. And that's
Mhm.
the story. That's the speech that I should have. It is, I guess it should have, would have, doesn't make a difference. But
Uh-huh.
if I was to do it again, that probably would have been the speech that I would have presented. But I can go back. whatever speech that was meant to happen is a speech that I presented in Anaheim. But so Sawubona should have been my world champion, and
Yeah,
then the gift would have been my semi-final speech.
sure. So because you use Sawubona, you can't use that
Mhm.
again.
Not on the world stage.
That's right. But
Or
you could use the gift again.
I can use that. That never went anywhere. It only went up to the district level.
I see. I mean, I really admire people like yourself that can share those really personal stories. I don't know that I'm that brave, but I totally agree with the sentiment. Did it take a lot of bravery to get up there and be a soul to the world?
You can't heal. You can't use the stage to heal. You have to already have healed. So for
Uh,
me, I'd already been volunteering in the women's shelters, and I've
mm,
already shared my story. I've seen how my story really helped a lot of the women in the women's shelter, women who
mhm,
have been impacted by domestic violence. I would volunteer there, and I'll see the same women coming back over and over again.
mm,
And then when I would share my story and say, you can get through this, you
mm,
just have to really be strong enough. And I'll give you, it's not just about being strong enough. There's a lot of other things. But when they see me and because I don't look like my story, so they'll look at me and they're like, "Oh, you've gone through it and you're
mm,
here helping us." Then
mhm.
maybe there's hope. So what I
Yeah,
give them is
yes,
hope to
yes.
know that they can also get through it.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
leading by example. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really blown away by that. The gift was your original speech that you took from club level all the way to district, and you
Mhm.
practiced that over 400 times, and that was being tweaked along the way. So did the original speech of the gift and the end speech at the district level, was there much difference? Were they just minor tweaks, or
Oh, yeah.
did it morph a lot?
It's so different because I started off thinking I had this good story, it's amazing. And they won at club level. I was like, whoo, I'm so good. And then I went to area, I won. I think division is probably one of the toughest level, I would say, because you're now competing with people who are even stronger and better. So I started going to different clubs all over the world. And
Mhm,
I would ask them what's missing, where's the gap. You just have to ask because there's feedback. You don't want people to give you feedback. You sounded good, your voice was loud. You want the content. At that level, you're not worried about the delivery yet. You want to make sure the speech is strong. Delivery will come. It's just you want to make sure the message is clear. What is my message? What
mhm,
is missing? What is the
mhm,
gap? And what? So I usually ask, what's my message? What's missing? And what did you like? And what did you not like? So
good
giving
questions.
feedback like that will tell you. They're like, oh, what's missing? Because when I started off my speech, one of the things that I did is I went to volunteer and they told me my transformation was just too quick. You can't just go volunteer and all of a sudden you feel better. Because when you do a speech, you're trying to shorten it, but you also need to make sure the transformation is realistic. Because
Uh-huh,
one of the things my mom was giving me advice. I can't just take her advice and say, oh, okay, mom, I'm going to change and I'm going to start sharing my story. That's
uh-huh,
not realistic. It's
uh-huh,
too quick. There has
uh-huh,
to be something there. So I talked to my mom, then I went to volunteer. It was 3 months later, I started understanding. So that transformation is more realistic. But in my original story, I was like, my mom told me healing is hindered by silence. Share your story. All of a sudden, I started to share my story. And everybody was like, that's not realistic. You can't just have your mom tell you, you share your story, and oh, wow, that's realistic. It has to be more realistic. So it's little things like that, because when you in your story, you know what happened, you know the gaps, but other
yeah,
people listening to you are wondering, what is happening? How did you get from here to there? And you're like,
yeah,
oh, I need to add that into my story. So
yeah,
then you go back and draft it and do it. And then you go to another club and then somebody else will say something to you. Okay, I need to add that into my speech. So you keep going and you don't always change everything. You just ask, if I take this out, is it
mm,
moving my story? If I
mm,
add it in, is it actually adding to my story? Because sometimes people will tell you feedback based on what they would do, but it's
mm,
not landing for you. So it has to be able to land so that
yeah,
you know the world can really understand it from an international level.
yeah. And I guess this audience is sitting there trying to relate and deciding, how does this make me feel? Does this feel right? Can I, relate to it? Does it feel authentic? And
Yes.
I guess the risk in having people advise you and morphing your speech a lot, you
Mhm.
want to stay true to yourself and authentic, don't you? Was there a
Yeah.
sort of a battle there to stay authentic?
It was initially like when I did it in 2022, because I was kind of like a new kid on the block. I didn't know. Everybody would tell me something. I'll go back and I'll change it and I'll
Mm,
keep changing it. And whatever they say, I was like, oh, that's good. I'll add it. And then I got so overwhelmed. I was like,
mm,
oh my God.
mm,
And I didn't have a coach at the time. I was just basically listening to people and doing it. And I ended up winning. I was like surprised, like, oh, how did I make it to the
mm,
semifinals? And one of the things when I made it to the semifinals and then I didn't advance, that was actually hard for me because I think my goal was to win. And when I didn't win, I was so upset.
mm,
So when you're doing your speech, it's not, you should not focus on the trophy. My lesson was it's about the impact because
mm,
what happened in 2022, only the advance.
mm.
And when they called the two names, they didn't call me. What happened is the top two people did not get anybody going to talk to them. Everybody came to me
Oh,
because they
is that
all
right?
said my speech made such an impact to them,
Mm,
even though I didn't place. But when I didn't win, I was just in a moment. I just wanted people to leave me alone. I wanted to go in the hotel room and cry myself.
yeah.
Meanwhile, everybody's like, I was surrounded by over 30 people, even though I
Mm,
didn't advance,
yeah.
saying your speech was so impactful. I loved your speech.
Mm,
You've given me hope. Meanwhile, the person who won, her speech was just funny, but
yeah.
there was no emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
so it's the difference when you share a speech, don't focus on the trophy,
yeah.
focus on the impact you're making in the audience. So that was the lesson I learned in 2022. So I used that again when I came back in 2024.
I love that, and look, in 2024, I was one of those groupies that was just so moved and impressed with your speech that I came and that's how we first met.
Yeah, that was great. In 2024, it was all about the impact. Even when I didn't advance, I was actually okay. But I
Yeah,
was also second guessing myself, saying I should have used the gift instead of
yeah.
Sawubona. But it was
I
funny because all the world champs would always see me say, hey, Harriet, Sawubona. I'm like, oh, so it was kind of nice. It was a
so
good speech. Yeah.
talk a bit about the aftermath of the 2024 World Championships. What has been the aftermath of that? Has there been any, extra attention or anything that sort of resulted from being on that world stage?
Well, I've actually since then I've gotten to a lot of, including your club, of course. I've talked
Yeah.
to a lot of clubs. I also got a lot of keynote speech
Uh-huh.
paid. Not they
Oh,
weren't free. They were paid keynote
awesome.
speeches that I've done
Awesome.
around the world, mostly in here in Edmonton. So I go to a lot of communities because they always tell me there's always that one person who does not feel seen, and by
Mm.
sharing this story, it really opens up conversations, especially now. Especially during after the pandemic, there's still a lot of people who are still going through it, feeling alone, feeling unseen, feeling lonely,
Mm.
isolated. So they
Yeah.
say when I share this speech with the community or with the organizations, people kind of realize, oh my goodness, we need to start seeing other people because nobody knows what's going on in anybody's life until you walk into their shoe. And you can't walk in anyone's shoes. We all have our own shoes that we're walking in. But by coming in and just talking to students in schools, organizations, and just telling them, it's just as simple as acknowledging other people. Just say hi, even to a stranger, even when I go to a building and I see a security guard, I say hi. Everybody
Mhm.
needs to be seen. Just
100%.
because they're doing a job that you don't think you're qualified for or you don't think you'd want to do that role, just say hi. Even when you go to restaurants and somebody's serving you, be nice. You
Yeah.
don't have to be, just acknowledge them. Everybody, even if somebody's cleaning the house or working in a hotel, they too have a family. They
Yes.
need to be acknowledged. So that's
100%.
made a big difference in a lot of the organizations I go to.
Couldn't agree more. It's a fabulous message. It's my impression that most people join Toastmasters to improve their public speaking. And the other big aspect that people then find is the leadership skills obtained by taking on leadership roles in the organisation. I think sometimes less commonly discussed aspect of all this is is the voluntary aspect. And you mentioned volunteering before, and I had noticed that on your LinkedIn profile that you've done quite an impressive amount of volunteering for some very worthy causes. Was it the domestic violence thing that was the first one, or was there something else that got you into volunteering?
I set it up. I think that might have been I'm trying to think. Oh, no, it was Big Brothers, Big Sisters, which is in school mentoring. But I just go to school and I help students become better speakers, I spend an hour with one particular student every week and just teach them to read better. Because sometimes some parents don't have time to do homework with them, help them with their homework, help them do every little thing that they need within an hour. So 15 minutes, we do homework, 15 minutes reading, and then the other half hour, we do whatever we want, whether it's playing volleyball, basketball, puzzles. And that's usually for elementary school or middle school. So I'll do that. So that was my very first volunteering. And I thought I could even do it more. So the next thing I volunteered is at the women's shelter, helping women who have been impacted by domestic violence. And the other two that I can mention, because I know you can go on and on. The other two is I also volunteer for palliative care. And that's people who are in the last phases of their lives. So we'll go to the hospital and I will be just there with the family because their loved one is just in their last phases. And sometimes the family's been there all day long. So I'll just be in the room while they go get a cup of tea or just walk around because they're emotionally drained. So I'm just there with a loved one, whether it's to read a story, give them a cup of tea, or just be there and not say anything so that their loved one is with somebody. So that's palliative care. And the last one is the Canadian Cancer Society. I know you do that. One of the other things is I'm a co-writer. I co-authored a book called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life. And my co-author, Dr. Barry Leica, is a dermatologist, and his specialty was skin cancer.
Okay.
So he shared a lot of things about that particular area. And we were just fundraising. So I would always volunteer for events to help people really get more education about skin cancer, protecting your skin. You know all about that.
I was going to say, bravo, good for you. That's amazing. It's fabulous. I don't know where you find the time for all this. What is your motive? I mean, that's just so wonderful of you to be there for people doing all this voluntary work. What has motivated you? I understand you had this personal experience with the domestic violence one, but with all these other ones, what has motivated you to be so giving of your time and self?
I feel like for the palliative care, that was part of it was my father was in palliative care, and I saw how kind the nurses were. And I said, one day when I'm ready, I would love to do that. So when I was ready emotionally and mentally, I decided to start doing that. And such a huge difference. And then with the other skin cancer, I've seen people around me who is just taking care of your skin. And Dr. Leica told me a lot about what the difference will be. Just the education and awareness is so important. You can save a life by just sharing the education. So I just like making a difference in people's lives. If I can do it, why not?
Good on you. You're a champion. You're from the city of champions, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah, we just haven't won anything lately. We're still the city of champs.
I believe as we grow and develop new skills and interests, these aren't in isolation. They influence each other to a greater or lesser extent. I think we have like a cross-pollination going on, and it works both ways. Has Toastmasters had an influence on other aspects of your life, and have other aspects of your life influenced Toastmasters?
I think it has in some ways, ironically, or maybe coincidentally. I'm an ultra marathon runner. And what I've learned about Toastmaster is when you're speaking on stage, you need to pace yourself. You need to take your time and you need to make sure you're aware of your audience, aware of who's receiving your message. So using those skills and that experience, when I'm doing my ultra marathon, which is, I don't know if your audience are familiar with ultra marathon, it's any race that's over 50 kilometers. So it'll be basically running from Brisbane to
Mhm.
Gold Coast. Gold Coast?
About
I don't know if that's,
about 100
how
Ks or
far
so.
that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, about 100 K.
So that's like a 30-hour race.
Oh.
So if you're gonna run a race like that without sleeping, because some people
Mm,
think you sleep during the race. So when I'm running that, it's all mindset, but it's
mhm,
also pacing yourself, being
mm,
aware of what's around you. So with Toastmaster, knowing that I'm on stage, I'm pacing myself, I'm aware of what's going on. So when I'm running a race like that, I'm pacing myself. I can't go too fast. If I do, I'm timing out. So it has really helped me with a lot of aspects in my life, especially my running and
mm,
also the confidence part. Of course, that goes without saying. When you a
mm,
Toastmaster,
mm,
you become more confident. You just want to support other people too when
mhm.
when you're doing Toastmaster. It's helped me with volunteering even more, I think.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today, Harriet?
I think you've covered a lot of things, but if I was to really share anything, mm, I think one of the biggest thing is people taking care of their themselves, self-care. And I like to use, and it's not my original acronym. I call it time.
Mm,
And I don't know where I read it. I read it somewhere. So when I share with people, I want them to focus on time, which is every day. Take something. B is for thankful. Be thankful for anything that you
mm,
wake up in the morning. It's similar to gratitude, but you be more thankful. And then I wake up and read something inspirational.
mhm,
Educate your mind. Always
mm,
growing. Whether it's reading something, listening to a podcast, for example, like this
mhm.
one. That's something, it's
Thanks.
inspirational. Get something out of it or read a good
Mm,
book in the morning or whatever. So something inspirational every day.
uh-huh,
And then is for meditation. And
uh-huh,
meditation doesn't mean you have to sit and because everybody meditates differently. It could be maybe you're going for a walk and you're just listening to the word to the birds or whatever it is. Whatever your version of meditation is, just be in the present and really get your mind clear. And then E, of course, is exercise. It's about
mm,
movement. When
mm,
you're
mm,
feeling like whenever you're feeling you're down and you're not happy, just move. It's all
mm,
about physical movement, and that will change your state of mind. And then S, I always add S is sleep. I mean, for
uh,
me, I function with 4 hours of sleep. I can
oh,
sleep more than 4 hours. Four
mm,
hours is all I need in my life, but I'm not encouraging anybody whatsoever to do that. Just sleep with what makes sense for you. So that's times thankfulness, something inspirational, meditate, exercise, and sleep. So if I was to leave something for your audience, something to do is do the self-care by just making sure you're taking care of times.
that's
And I
beautiful. That's really beautiful. Yeah, I just concerned that, with the exercise, do we have to run 160 Ks and how often do we have to do that?
that's some compulsory. Everybody must run that long. No, on a serious note, it's just movement. Even
Yeah.
if if you're sitting for an hour in the office, I have my watch. It always talks to me and tells me move. So
Yeah.
just be mindful and just always try to move every hour. Whether it's you to get up and stretch or go get a cup of tea or walk around the block, whatever it is, just do a bit of movement. Even
Yeah.
stretching, like if you're stretching, at least you get that blood circulation
Yes.
going. It's
Yeah.
just movement. Yeah. It doesn't have to be strenuous or over the top like what I do.
Great, I'm relieved. Excellent advice. Does your club welcome visitors?
Oh, yeah. I think all I imagine all Toastmaster clubs do. Yeah, definitely. You can always go on toastmaster.org and you can just look at the clubs that really align with your time and just visit.
Mhm.
I've done that many times. I'm like, oh, this one looks like it aligns with my time. So I go in and they're always welcoming. I've never been to a Toastmaster me club where they say, no, we don't want you here. They're always so welcoming.
Are either of your clubs online?
Yes, contest mastery they're all virtual. We don't do a lot of hybrid. All of ours are all virtual. And I know with
Okay.
the clubs contests coming up, a lot of the contests are all going to be in person.
Is it virtual because it's so cold in Edmonton?
Yeah, and it allows us to have more other people from all over the world. But when it comes to contest, you probably don't want to compete in our club because that means because Toastmasters International's new rule now is I think after club everything has to be in person. So if you're competing, so you can be in our club, but you won't be able unless you're flying over to the city of champion every contest. You can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but everyone's welcome. Like I would really welcome anybody who wants to join our club. Contest Mastery is one we do it every Wednesday. It's always at different times. I think it's Pacific at 5:00, but I am Mountain Time. And also the other ones that I go to is they can also look it up. It's The Way We Speak.
The Way We Speak.
That's one. The second one is Brown Lee's Best. That's my home. That's the one that I'm actually paid my fees this year.
I see.
And the other ones I'm a guest. And then the other one is Learnter, like LEARNTOR, Toastmaster. That's the one in Nigeria. And that's on Sundays. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Harriet. It's been just such an honor and such a pleasure. And you really do belong in the City of Champions. I think you should be their mascot. Thank you so much.
I know. I'd be like, hey, give me an E, give me a D, Monton, City of Champions, Edmonton.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to today's show. One of the key elements of Toastmasters is evaluations. This is how we grow and improve, both by encouraging comments for things we got right and points for improvement. We all learn and benefit from these evaluations, not just the person being evaluated. So any feedback in the comments is greatly appreciated. If you have a Toastmasters story you'd like to share or would like to be on the show, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at Toastmasters World Tour @gmail.com. Thanks for listening.